Today I'm going to show you how to make this bull blank with just a chainsaw. You also need a clamp and a cutting platform of some sort. In my case, it's 2 logs. It doesn't have to be 2 logs, it can be something else, but you're going to need to be able to either drill holes into the side, or you have to be able to drill some holes in the top for a hold fast. And we'll clamp it down, and all the cutting is done with a chainsaw. And that's an 11-inch bull blank. The reason I'm doing 11 inches is because I assume this is for people who are just getting into woodworking and don't have a lot of extra money to be buying bandsaws. Probably want a chainsaw because that will enable you to get wood for free, but this will allow you to start there and add the bandsaw later. So I've started off by marking the checks in the log. So I just stood it up on edge so I could easily see it, marked it on either side. These marks here are basically the extreme edge, or just beyond the extreme edge of each of those checks. And I did that on both sides because I'm going to use a level to draw a vertical line. And I have the log sitting in this platform that I made, which I have a video on, so check that out. Now, my checks do not perfectly align, so I kind of had to split the difference. So as far as, rolling this a little bit to the right would have optimized maybe a little bit bigger section here, but on the other side, that is not the case. So I split the difference. So I'm just going to set the level up, bring it to level. That mark down there is what I want to follow, and draw a level line. And again, repeat the process for this line here. Okay. And go around back and do the same thing. Now we're done with the level. Now I want to use a piece. I have a piece of masonite, and I have these cut in 1/2-inch increments. For this blank, I'm going with 5 inches. Blank over here, we'll go with 4 inches. So that gives me parallel lines. Now we're going to go repeat the process on the back. And in reality, you only need to mark it at the top. The center line, probably ideal to mark it all the way down so that you can easily line up to make the second mark. But sometimes I'm stupid and just mark it all the way. So I'm going to start off by marking the back of each cut. Just make sure you mark on the side of the line that you want to cut on. And then I'm going to start the cut on the side nearest to me and rock the bar into my mark. I'm going to keep the bar pulled out slightly so it's not pressed up against these claws so that I can see the mark. If your bar is not long enough to reach all the way through and do that, just push it all the way in. It's better to have the cut all the way through. You notice in a minute here that the center cuts, I am not going to make the initial cut all the way through the log. Keeping the log as one piece will make it easier to make the outer cuts. I am keeping this first cut all in real time so that you can see about how long it should take. The last thing to do is finish the 2 center cuts so you have 2 slabs. I need to create a flat on one side of my cutting block here. Chronologically, I did this first. I'll show you in a minute why this needs to be done. A couple of pieces of scrap so you don't dull your blade in the dirt. So I'm going to drill a 1 3/4 inch hole in here so I can insert a clamp. So the size of the hole will be determined by the size of your clamp. So you'll just have to figure that out. But 1 3/4 will work for my clamp. I'm coming in 3 inches off the top and 3 inches off the end. So I want it kind of close to the edge, but not too close for strength. And I'm using a 1/2 inch DeWalt drill with a side handle. That side handle is crucial. Probably not recommended to use a Forstner bit here. However, it's a bit that I have that is big enough to get the job done. So the side handle will resist the torque. So you don't want to break your wrist using a big Forstner bit without the side handle for sure. This is kind of a do it at your own risk. I've never really had an issue, especially with a side handle, being able to resist that torque. Also, I'm running it on the slowest speed. Make sure you clear the chips frequently. You can get the hole clogged up, even to the point where you can't get the bit out. Another reason why I chose this size bit is I can actually get the chuck into the hole, so I can get a deeper hole. That's as deep as it'll go, which it will be adequate. I should mention that I propped the my cutting platform up with logs on either side, so I'm not fighting it or trying to keep it from rolling while I'm working. Normally I'd go a little bit bigger with this blank, but my whole thought process here is this is for someone starting out with bowl turning, and they probably either have a 10 inch or a 12 inch swing lathe. So I'm not trying to maximize the bowl that I can get out of this piece of wood. So this is an 11 inch blank. Just tracing a piece of cardboard here. Mark the center so you don't have to come back and do that later. Cardboard's no longer perfectly round. Just going to put a few shavings underneath this, and that's for grip. That'll help keep it from wanting to twist on me as I cut this. I'm going to get as much of it hanging off the platform as possible, so I'm not cutting into that. The whole point here is this allows me to clamp this down. A piece of wood this small is going to want to move on me as we work, and I can basically cut this whole section from here all the way to over here without worrying about cutting into the platform. Make sure you remove any cutoffs out of the way. If your chain hits them while running, it will throw them back at you. Make sure each cut is as square to this as possible. little bit off. I'm starting from the bottom and coming up. To clarify, I'm not starting from underneath the blank. I'm starting with a chain next to the blank at the bottom, cutting at a slight angle, and then coming from the top to square it off. You only need to take this much care to get the blank truly round with either a smaller lathe or a larger blank. As you see here, I'm resting my right forearm on my thigh for better control of the saw. There's the hole. Clamp fits in there, slides down, clamps down. Another thing you can do is put a couple of holes for a hold fast, but use whatever you have. The clamp that I was using is a Berger welding clamp. It has plenty of distance here. I think I had around 12 inches of clamping space there. So this will also work if I'm doing larger bowls. So the reach of the clamp is about 5 3/4. So I figured, what use is it to be able to make a bowl blank if you can't actually make a bowl? I'm mounting this to my MIDI lathe. It has a 12-inch swing and has variable frequency drive, so I can turn the RPMs down. You're going to have a hard time turning any bowl that's wet on a lathe that won't give you really low RPMs. $350 RPM, so pretty darn slow there. The point here is not to demonstrate wood turning per se. It is to demonstrate that you can turn a blank on a smaller lathe that you cut with just a chainsaw. This piece of wood is open grained. Previously I had a piece crack while working with it, so I put some saran wrap and blue tape on it to keep it from cracking. You can also spritz it with water as you work to to achieve the same ends. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. I hope to catch you on the next one.